Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Christopher Michael Curtis Bowen on this evening edition of Fire of Liberty. And I have not done a broadcast in a few days. However, this will be the first broadcast on this evening of March 28th, 2018, with many evanescent, unique realities that are currently on this evanescent plane that we call Gaia, as well as just the positive reality that, of course, is constantly being manifested and co-created in a peaceful, positive way. And, of course, the acceleration and the advancement of ascension, which, of course, is eternal. And the very, of course, one of the most basic facts, of course, of life, or actually more of divinity, is, of course, the eternalness of it. And that divine essence is within, and then you can activate the divine essence is activated because it is activated within all. So within, of course, that which can be called, for example, the heart chakra, or many different things. But for this broadcast, I'll just describe it as heart chakra, or perhaps even another thing that actually works very well is just higher vibrational density, or higher vibrational essence in the form, which can be added to the overall, for example, human auric field, which is constantly changing and developing. And the major breakthrough, which of course happened today, is, or just it's if there was, for example, to put a certain focus on a certain moment in time, and this overall amazing transitional change of eternal light, and really kind of embracing and kind of the own self-recognition of the essence of divinity being enhanced in the body. In the spirit, mind, soul, body complex. And the intense complexities that exist with the quantum energies and how the photonic energies interact with energy in general. The consciousness of the development, of course, increases, and the consciousness of the understanding of what consciousness, for example, is in itself, is, of course, a sort of evanescent, accelerated motion, and that is the types of energies that are coming in, for example, from the galactic central sun, especially these vast changes, which, of course, the balance of the electromagnetic energy of the Earth and the Sun, and, for example, of the entire solar system is always going on. There's always a rebalancing, always a re-energizing, and always for example, perhaps even a reiteration, and then, of course, the shining and the blasting of energy, or for example, adamantium particles, and of course, just the fact of just overall light transformation, which, of course, as the speed of love is the speed of light squared, the energies and consciousness truly transforms everything that it touches. And of course, another thing to understand of what consciousness is, of course, is the understanding of, which is, of course, a huge paradigm shift, which of course has already occurred, is occurring, and already has, of course, what's proclaimed for example, like a bright future, which can not only be done within ourselves, as a unified divine being, divine human incarnated on Earth, but also awareness of the divinity that exists in everything, in all things, all the time. The oneness, of course, is becoming ever more present, and of course the awareness of the connection with all that is becoming ever stronger. In the same way that there's understandings of the types of, for example, transportation that is, for example, most commonly utilized by the general, for example, population, for example, has a next level reality attached to it, and the balance is always there. And the ability, of course, this continued ascension is, of course, like an expression of divinity itself. And of course, I definitely strongly recommend the study of the 12 universal laws. That would be, if I had to put a time frame, I would say that would be the focus of this year. Is the developing of the understanding of, for example, the brilliance of the uniqueness of how well we can truly live our lives and how simple life really is, especially with the, for example, just to give some statements, and it's really cool because I think if you reread the laws, there's some new insight that's picked up all the time. Of course, as our higher selves are always providing insight into what can be done, for example, in the 3D, and of course how we can take this path that we create honestly on Earth is very unique, very special, very important, and it can be done, and it is being done in multiple ways, and many different types of unique, fantastic, evanescent ways, and there's many different paths. But of course, ascension is not final. Ascension is not finite, and it is eternal. Just for example, as the ascension of Hollow Earth occurs, so is the ascension of the surface world, or the surface of our planet, and therefore the ascension of the entire planet. Rising in frequency, of course, eternally with all divine beings and all beings in general and all beings of light, and the understanding of, for example, the law of polarity, law of relativity, and the law of action, and the law of oneness. For example, plays a huge, interesting, and key part in just a very basic foundation, for example, of how the acceleration of consciousness can occur within, for example, our own individual consciousness, and therefore, of course, the collective consciousness. Which, of course, brings to the next level of the over-expansive, positive future reality that is, of course, always there, which, in the most basic forms, would definitely be space travel, complete self-sufficiency, abundance in every single society and culture and location throughout the entire planet, and, of course, truly sustainable, efficient, and the most effective technologies and new ways of living to truly design, not only with wisdom and courage and the tenacity that comes with in general being an incarnated multidimensional being, anchoring higher frequencies upon the earth. There's also just the inner development of the awakening, the inner sort of remembering of our multidimensionality, of, for example, the home world, our fifth dimensional world, and of course, just all aspects of our multidimensionality. And of course, this is being guided all the time, and as ascension occurs, and combining with the truth, it really unites a unique type of consciousness and sort of field and like auric bliss realm that we can move through, walk through, and communicate, create, and design with. And of course, the types of abundances and of course blessings and of course creations that are going to be manifested are manifesting much faster at a faster rate, and that's what happens in general with any ascension, especially when there's higher dimensional and higher vibration and light beings and beings of light supporting, working with, and in the process of development, for example, itself, and also the understanding of like a higher conceptual idea of how the brain works and how it becomes a sort of doorway or a facilitator for the mind, or a doorway for the mind, and how the mind is infinite, and the brain can sort through mind and travel through mind with brain, and it connects us in a sort of rooted form, in a unique way that's very organic, which definitely actually has electromagnetic properties to it, which are electromagnetic light fields of beauty, and it's an actual, for example, energy that is the design of our 12-strand DNA, or 12-strand DNA, of course. it can be viewed as a pink, bright, and of course we can change our own colors of our human auric field as we at will. Of course, if you're self-conscious enough, I'm not going to lie, that's a very advanced form of, but of course the discernment that's present in this broadcast will obviously skip through the fact that the electromagnetic energy, or something I would like to call the EML, or electromagnetic lotus, is the sort of vessel, if you will, that can be that is, for example, that there's light being poured upon, and the light energy that's anchored from the higher vibrations and higher density realms and the heavens realms are anchored into, for example, through our bodies, through our chakra system, through our medium, or our crown chakra, for example, and then through the earth and into the center of the earth, and then that energy is, of course, continue to radiate it out. Of course, the really beautiful importance of the memories that are stored within the crystals. They're there, and that ascension is very key, obviously, and that has played a very vital role, and will continue to play a very vital role, just in general, but especially, of course, just to place an extra focus, just to continue with an accelerated ascension, just for the beings of light that are already incarnated here on Earth and have strong awareness of their own divine mission. I would like the focus to be upon the crystals that are here on Earth, that are on Earth, and the massive crystals, and of course, that will continue to restore many of the different types of, for example, restore the body. It's going to restore the light body to its crystalline form, or rejuvenate to its crystalline form, and then also a very, very major important thing is the anchoring of the cities of light. Now, the crystal city of universal light has indeed seen, for example, its connection here. As weird as that sounds, I'm going to try and phrase that in a different way. The realities that are in present right now have the vibration to hold the reality of the crystal cities of universal light. So these crystal cities, which ultimately exist right now, exist in the now, and exist in higher dimensions, I'm gonna go so far as to say can be visited, walked through, lived, and understood, and even comprehended in the type of consciousness that exists. For example, in the ever present now, and then that's incredibly important because that is necessary in order to establish even faster ascension, not only for the pathways that are available here on Earth, but of course to for example, for lack of a better word, to increase the sort of mass of light. So the abilities, and it's really amazing. So congrats to all the light workers. But the power and the energy of light workers, and the quickness of the desire and the joy that comes with light working and creating light and manifesting, it's running rampant. It's definitely rampant around the planet, and this golden opportunity is present throughout all space-time. And this is a very important point in transition in general. Very high vibrational energies. What can be done now actually is light energy can actually be consciously imbued into your body. Of course, I strongly recommend to pace yourself with this because, for example, the way that, for example, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 chakras affect the spine, for example, or affect the body, it affects the entire body, it affects the bone structure. And basically the entire bone structure has been shifted, and is the entire body is active and is engaged while this light is pouring into while this energy is pouring into the body. And of course, for example, it can create pressure on the skull, or a sort of discomfort. And it's very simple at the same time. It's very complex and a very organic process very organic process. It's actually a very natural organic process of transformation into crystalline DNA that is occurring, and it's a incredibly important change because it's recognizing the importance of our own divinity within all beings, and of course, the balance, the universal laws which apply universally regardless. So it is a great foundation for free will ascension, and then there'll be more specifics that'll be done throughout. However, or that I'll help explain throughout. However, the most important aspect for, or at least multi-creationalistical realm and abilities, for example, is the continued enhancement of just the truly embodiment and the awareness of the fact of the oneness with all that is, of course, the oneness with all the Creator, and the truth of divine essence within that allows the expansion of creation as being creation, or being a creator, and continuing to create and manifest multiple creations to ascend incredibly fast and incredibly well. This is your host, Christopher Marcus Bones, the Eve edition of Fire of Liberty. This is an offline broadcast, but on this offline broadcast, it is still broadcasted around the late evening hours of Pacific Coast time, March 28th, 2018. It's been a few days since I did a broadcast. However, with continued ascension and enlightenment, not only into well beyond a type 100,000 civilization, and onto a type 180,000 civilization, and incredibly, truly advancing and raising vibrations at a higher density, and of course assisting all sorts of ascensions at all levels, because this divine mission obviously was known before we incarnated, and that's the cool thing about living as a divine sovereign being, is that we can manifest in this infinite realm of creatorship, and that's what freedom is. And we can continue to do that, and the designs and the abilities and the help and the support there is truly infinite in abundance, because the never-ending supply of heaven and never-ending prosperity is indeed yours. So be it. I am your host, Christopher Marcus Bones. This is a new edition of Fire of Liberty. I am a guardian angel, light being, ascended master, being of light, being of awareness, created being. This is a masterful being of skill, masterful being of awareness, master teacher, master instructor, higher vibrational anchorer of light, being of light, transformer, transmuter, heaven-essent, masterful transmuter, leader, guider, star child, star seed, violet, indigo child or indigo adult, and light worker and light warrior, the warrior of the universe, universal warrior of light, light warrior. Because the light is awesome. It allows many, many amazing things to happen. This is your host, Christopher Marcus Bones, and you've been listening to Fire Liberty. I love you all. Oh, yeah, I can just...